This is the Speak for Yourself podcast featuring the best of Colin Cowherd and Jason Whitlock. I'm your host, Jason McIntyre. Cowherd out today, a mysterious Thursday illness. He was probably ducking me from talking about Russell Westbrook. But our fill-in, Doug Gottlieb, the new Fox Sports radio host. Right off the top, Whitlock, the voice of reason on Russell Westbrook, he claims, tells you why last night's Westbrook lost the game for the Thunder in the fourth quarter. Former NBA champ Eddie House reminds us that Jerry West didn't succeed in Golden State, but also in Memphis, and the Lakers are making a mistake not bringing a logo to the front office. Fox Sports radio host Doug Gottlieb explains why the Warriors will need Kevin Durant to beat the Clippers. I got the Jazz in that series, Doug. Fox Sports NBA analyst Chris Broussard breaks down the Bulls, Celtics, and the Wizards. The Wizards are great, but the only team in the East that can beat Cleveland, you guessed it, it's Cleveland. Plus, I tell the guys why Lane Kiffin is smart to call out Nick Saban. Ready for Speak for Yourself? Take it away, Whitlock.
All right, hello and welcome. We're joined today by Fox Sports radio analyst Doug Gottlieb, Fox NBA analyst Chris Broussard, former NBA champion Eddie House, and of course, I'm Jason Whitlock. All right, let's start in Houston, where the Rockets beat the Thunder to take a 2-0 series lead. And despite Russell Westbrook's 51-point triple-double, Westbrook took 40 shots, the most in playoff games since MJ in 1993, and melted down in the fourth quarter, shooting just 4 of 18 in the final frame. Here's Westbrook after the game.
How would you grade, when you look at your line on the box score, how would you grade the line?
I don't give a about the line. We lost.
What he should care about is the fourth quarter, and that's where they lost the game. Look, I am a Westbrook supporter. Love him. That was awful last night. The fourth quarter was awful. He was delusional. That, to me, was a classic. I'm sitting on the sidelines, end of the third, top of the fourth, whatever. They lose a 12-point lead, and Russell Westbrook came in and panicked.
Live by the rust, die by the rust, right? I mean, in the third quarter, he was 5 of 10 from the field.
Yep.
He was carrying them, but you got to feel the game, guys. And whether it's his coach, Billy Donovan, not playing Enes Kanter because he needs another score, or the fact that he's not hitting, he's getting frustrated. Everybody else might have been tight, but Eddie, I kind of think like they react to him, and it's become their default mechanism that they're so dependent on him that nobody else is brave enough to take the ball and go, hey, I got this. Let me see what you can. I can do it myself.
Well, nobody else can do that.
That's right.
There's nobody that can create their own shot. They're not shot creators, shot makers. I've been saying this. And I also think that it might have been Billy Donovan's fault a little bit. He didn't sense the game, how the game was going. They had a big lead. I'm pushing through. He's not going to come out the game. I'm going to push through him and build a bigger lead because he was playing fantastic in the third quarter, 5 of 10. It's only 2 other guys that made shots in the third quarter. And that was Roberson and Oladipo. He was 1 for 5, Oladipo. So, I mean, what more do you want this guy to do? If nobody else is willing to take the shot, to your point, step up and take it and can't make it, you know,
we let him
you
off
got to. We're not letting him off. He's doing everything he can to try to win. Nobody else is helping him.
They're not even in the game if it's not for him. They were negative 15 in the first 3 quarters when he's off the court. They built up a 12-point lead with 2 minutes left in the third. He comes out, and by the time the fourth quarter starts, 2 minutes, it's down to 3. And so nobody else was scoring. Oladipo, your second offensive guy, is 4 for 14. He's shooting 19% in this series, Oladipo. So, look, he made some bad decisions. He took some bad shots. But he's the guy, like, nobody else was giving you anything.
Hold on now. It's one thing to shoot the ball 18 times and make 4 in the fourth quarter. It's another thing to have no one else touch the ball, have one-person possessions. That ball has to move a little bit, and then on the second touch or the third touch, you attack. If no one else touches
that's on Donovan or that's on Westbrook?
Both.
Both?
I think it's also on the other players. I mean, it was in the fourth quarter. He took four shots, right? Made 4 shots. 3 guys made shots. It was Kanter made 1, McDermott made 1, and Roberson made 1. Nobody else is taking shots. Nobody else is taking shots.
You gotta give Peace
a chance. You gotta
give the other guys a chance.
No, well, you have a chance. Knock the shot down.
It was bad.
Hold on. They gotta touch the ball in the fourth quarter.
Looks.
You have to move, ball movement.
But you also have to want it, though. You have to want it. You have to step up to the plate and say, hey, man, if I get this ball, I'm making this shot. Almost like C.J. Miles.
C.J. Miles.
C.J. Miles, excuse me. Yeah, C.J. Miles for the Pacers. Paul George wanted it back, but what did he do? No, I'm taking this shot because he felt this was a better shot for him in that time and that shot. And people argued that, right?
He got to touch the ball.
But a team embodies their best player, okay? And they're all like shell-shocked by the whole Russ effect. And some of that is he has to build up their confidence. He has to make them believe in themselves. That's the leadership of Russ. Look, you want to be the franchise dude. And look, here's the big thing.
They've been doing this all year.
I understand.
And they've been 33-9 when he gets a triple-double. I'm just saying, I'm not saying he didn't make some bad decisions. I'm just saying they're not a very good team outside of
Hey, and to your point about him building up teams, I've talked to a point guard that plays for the Chicago Bulls, and he told me how well Russell Westbrook is with his team, how good he is in uplifting them, saying, hey, man, I'm going to come to you next time if he misses shots. So he's not a non-leader in the regular season. He's not a leader out on the court.
That all sounds
He's not a non-leader off the court.
You got to pass the ball. You got to give the other guys a chance.
He did in the first half, and what happened? The second half, they weren't making shots. So he had to take over.
Well, look,
did they press the panic button? Yeah.
I do think that we let Billy Donovan off the hook a little bit. We haven't, but other people do. We let Sam Presti off the hook a little bit as well. It's not just that they got rid of or they traded James Harden. When they went to the NBA Finals, James Harden was the point guard in the fourth quarter.
Yes.
They have to put somebody alongside him who he respects, who he'll allow to handle the basketball, and then he gets the ball when it comes to him. You can't have one-person possessions. Those were bad back when KD was there. They're bad now, and it just snowballed last night to where, as you said, nobody wanted to shoot it except for Russ, and Russ couldn't make it, and he got more frustrated, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And like Jason said, that was bad. There's no selling that was a good look for a guy who's going to be the NBA's MVP.
The thing they're going to hope for going forward is that this year, when Russell did the triple-double, probably wins MVP, and they go out in the first round, is that the losing will get to him. And he'll say, you know what? I may have to play differently. They may even have to put him off the ball. Like Allen Iverson became a two-guard.
Right.
You know, if you get a point guard, not Harden, obviously, but somebody that can handle the ball.
It ain't going to happen with everybody caping up for him.
Well, they going to have to initially.
Hold on,
dude.
He needs some help,
They got to get Shaq. They got to get Jordan.
Who's the talent?
Hold on.
He needs to get help.
Steven Adams is the talent. Look, Steven Adams
He's
is
okay.
Hold on. Last year.
But
that was one time.
We got to go, guys. I'm up here with three basketball brilliant people. Steven Adams could have developed. All right, to Westbrook's old teammate Kevin Durant, who sat out last night's game against Portland, and with a strained calf. Not that the Warriors seemed to care. Steph Curry and crew dominated the Blazers, winning by 29 to take a 2-0 series lead. They don't need Kevin Durant to win the West. I think they could beat San Antonio without Kevin Durant. Look, without Kevin Durant, they were 5-1 against Western Conference playoff teams. The one game they lost was when everybody sat down against the Spurs. This team doesn't. They'll need Kevin Durant, in my opinion, against LeBron, but against the West, I don't think.
Well, against Portland, they don't need him. By the way, is the lack of hat allowing the hot takes? Is that what's happening?
29 points. They blew out this team without Kevin Durant.
Well, it was because of their defense.
They won 14 straight without Kevin Durant.
It was because of their defense. I mean, like
Kevin
defense.
Durant, you know what Kevin Durant is? He's the best side piece in the history of America.
Don't disrespect him like that.
Hold on. He's their,
don't disrespect his game like that.
He's their leading scorer, okay? And
he's their best player.
He's their best
player.
player.
Like a man that's never had a great side piece, but he keep going.
he's their best player. He's incredibly important. This, if anything, it tells you who Portland is as in the gap between Portland and the real teams in the West. But the impressive part to me is in the defense of this team. They shut off the water of the Trailblazers, who have two incredibly explosive guards, and everybody else in that team is scared, much like the Oklahoma City Thunder are scared. They allowed 12 points in the third quarter. They went into halftime and was like, hey, we need to D up or shut up, and they shut him up. Listen to this. I thought what Steve Kerr said after the game was really telling, understanding how this team has actually been built the past 5 years.
People want to talk about the shooting in the backcourt and all that stuff, but you know, this has been a great defensive team for a while. Since, you know, before I got here, they were a great defensive team. So it's really been the hallmark of this club for about the last 5 years.
And I know that they're different than last year in addition to Durant. But remember, without Durant, they won 73 games. Like, this is not a chump team. But Eddie, they're going to need him to beat the Clippers. They're going to need him to beat
Clippers.
No, not the Clippers.
Yes.
You're going to need him
Everybody is so disrespectful of the Clippers.
You're going to need to beat the Spurs.
Because of the way they play.
Yeah.
It's not like we're just
Dude,
picking on the
styles
Clippers.
of play.
They're always
They're
hurt.
going to
The
need him
Clippers
to
are-
beat the Spurs, though, because now Kawhi is going to have to guard a bunch of different guys. At some point, he's going to have to guard Thompson, and then at some point, he's going to have to guard Durant. That's going to wear on him. That's their best offensive player. So how do you wear down an offensive player and make him start missing? You wear him out on the other end, make him chase you around screens. That's what Klay is going to do, the same thing that Kevin Durant does. And we keep forgetting the fact that he led the team in blocks per game.
Yeah.
Like, he is a fantastic defender. Actually, he's playing better defense than he's had his whole career since he's got there.
Completely
And you add
agree.
him with Draymond, now you have two rim protectors, and he rebounds. You need him.
He's their best player.
You're talking about the
Spurs.
Trailblazers.
He's their best player.
Yes.
But they don't need him. There's a difference between need and want. With Kevin Durant, their ceiling is higher. But I think they play consistently better without Durant because everybody else is more comfortable in their roles. Steph knows he's the guy, and they're used to one another. But so I think they could win the West and win it all without Kevin Durant. They won it all 2 years ago without him. They won 73 last year.
There was no Kyrie.
There was no Kyrie.
I give you that. I give you that. But
Love.
last year, they very easily could have won that finals.
And they very easily could have not been in the finals.
Yes, they could.
Everybody forget about they was down 3-1.
No, I understand.
I'm not saying they don't like. They're better with him because he's the second best player in the world. But need? I don't think they need him.
If you're the second best player, how don't you need him? That's all I'm saying. If he's the second best,
it's an embarrassment of riches.
They are a really good team, regardless.
So are they a better team?
Better.
Are they a better? Let's say they play the Clippers.
They're not better without him.
I know you guys are clowning the Clippers. Are they better in the Clippers with him at the 4 against Blake?
Why are we talking about
They're
the Clippers?
better than the Clippers.
Is he a Clipper
They
fan?
don't need the Clippers. Doug, you really think
They need him. Yes, they need him to beat the Clippers. I know they own the Clippers, but they own the Clippers in the regular season. They've owned them in the past. But everybody owns the Clippers.
Let's see them beat Utah.
I agree. Well, look, even if you go to Utah, okay, you put Joe Johnson at the 4.
Golden State. They don't.
I'm just saying,
only team
Portland-
that they need is the Spurs. Kevin Durant to beat is the Spurs. That's the only team that they need on their team. No, not even
So
the
you
Rockets.
don't think they can beat the Spurs?
I don't think they can beat the Spurs
him?
without him. I don't think they can. You cannot take that component away from them. All the things that he brings, and like I said, protecting the rim, rebounding, and the score. That's another guy that could hit you with a dagger to win a game, or get hot and take over a quarter. I don't think you could take that component away from them, and they still be able to beat the Spurs.
Like
not the Spurs. Not the Spurs.
They're so good with or without him.
All right, welcome back. Doug Gottlieb, Chris Broussard, and Eddie House back with me. Before we get going, Chris, in 1997, there was a classic matchup below the rim between Eddie House and Doug Gottlieb.
Oh, no, I played above the rim at that point.
Oklahoma State versus Arizona State. Wow. We go to the stat sheet. Oklahoma State won the game. Gottlieb had more assists. Eddie had more points. A tie, when rebounds.
We're down 12 at half, went on a 13-0 run, and they were fighting in their huddle.
I'm not sure.
They were swabbing in their huddle.
I want to know who that was a picture of. Eddie House looking like he weighed about $150 back then.
I did.
Hey,
that was my freshman year right there. I was a baby.
Eddie House get buckets now.
I was a baby.
He's going to get
points.
I was a baby. He get buckets in a hurry.
All right, it's time for Who's the Best, presented by America's Best Contacts and Eyeglasses. Let's move to a guy playing his best, John Wall, who led the Wizards to a Game 2 win over the Hawks last night. And now the Wizards lead the series 2-0. Wall matched his playoff career high of 32 points for the second game in a row. And the Wizards' performance so far has some people like yours truly thinking Washington could be a real threat to the Cavaliers in the East. I love the energy, the confidence, the swagger that John Wall and Bradley Beal, and hell, I'll throw in Brandon Jennings, are playing with. Washington is a team that could be an issue for the Cavaliers.
I think an issue is a fair way to put it. They remind me, actually, an issue. They could win a couple games of them. I love that John Wall, if you look at those highlights, he's like, no, you can't guard me. Like, he is playing with a supreme amount of self-confidence. And I think he has the perfect coach. He's got Scotty Brooks, who helped engineer what the Thunder were and have become. And I think this team reminds me, I don't know if you guys remember, when the Thunder kind of first made it to the playoffs, They pushed the Lakers to 6 games and lost on a Pau Gasol tip-in in Oklahoma City. It wasn't that they could beat the Lakers. It was they were announcing their presence with authority, like Nuke Lelouch. They're like, hey, we're going to be around for a while. That's what I think this year's Wizards team is. They're not going to beat the Cavs, but they're telling the rest of the league, me, Brad Beal, we're going to be here for a while. Otto Porter starting to hit shots. We're going to be a problem.
I don't think they could beat the Cavs either. I just don't think they have enough, but they are playing with extreme confidence.
Can they win too?
It all depends.
If the Cavs let them.
Yeah, it all depends.
Are you not at the home court energy they got?
They have a lot of energy, and they playing with a lot of energy and a lot of confidence too. Gortat is playing with confidence. Porter's playing with confidence. You got so many. Bill, we already know what he could do, and John Wall's on another. I think he's the most improved player in the NBA to me this year, and I think Scotty Brooks has done a hell of a job coaching. I think he could be up for Coach of the Year. So, can they dethrone the Cavs? No, but they are a damn good team.
Full disclosure, Whitlock's been looking for somebody to beat the Cavs in the East all year. He thought Miami, that's not even in the playoffs, was going to be an issue for Cleveland. No, the one team that's a threat to Cleveland in the East is Cleveland.
Yeah.
That's it. And
why they ducking Washington and Chicago? They ducked
I actually think they did do. I think they did do that to get the second seed, so they wouldn't have to go through Washington or Chicago, and it's a little easier road that way.
I think they respect the talent on that roster.
Their speed and quickness in Washington will give them problems. They've averaged 131 points against Cleveland the last 2 games, and they split those. Okay, so they'll be an issue. You know, they probably would go 6. But LeBron James is so much better than everybody else in the East. Wall may be the second best player in the East, but LeBron's so much better that they have such a room for error. And then he's got a better supporting cast than Wall has. So there's just not another elite team in the East, in my opinion.
Here's the amazing part. He was kind of dismissive of your point while agreeing with your point all at the same time. He said,
but I'm just saying, he thought Miami was going to beat Cleveland.
Well, if Miami hadn't got screwed over by everybody rested at the end, you would have saw what I was talking about. But listen, agree with me on this. Of all the teams we look around, who's ascending, who's showing the most growth?
They're the second best team in the East.
No, I'm talking about West, East, who's showing the most growth. May not be the best team, but showing the most growth ascending. I'm betting Washington on the come.
I would say Washington is playing the best basketball right now in the East. They are moving up. I don't see, but they're not good enough to beat the Cavs. But they are playing the best basketball right now. They all believe in themselves. They believe in the coach. And that's a scary thing, though. When you get everybody believing and thinking that it is your time and right now and why not us, then you could do a lot of different things when you have that mentality going in. But beating the Cavs is not one of them.
I mean, look what they've gotten out of Markieff Morris. I mean, there's
I love Markieff.
but there's a guy who did not have a great reputation around the league. It's tough to coach, whatever. And he's been great this year. Otto Porter leads the league in three-point percentage. Yeah. So I get exactly what you're feeling, Jay. You're looking, this is a team that over the next 3-4 years, as everybody's waiting for LeBron James to come back down to reality, Father Time will eventually win. Who could be that next team? Some thought it was the Celtics. You know, some maybe the Sixers. The Wizards are that team, and they could, what'd you say, was nuisance, problem, issue? Issue. They could be an issue.
Listen, it's like
a nuisance. That's it.
I'm not watching these playoffs. My Pacers should have beat them game 1, played them very competitive game 2. The Cavs are not playing great.
Here's the thing about the playoffs, and Eddie, you know this. It doesn't matter how close the games are. Cleveland's games against Detroit last year were close, but they swept them.
There's no such
Golden
thing as
State,
close.
yeah, it's win in the
or
playoffs.
lose.
Golden State had a trouble with New Orleans 2 years ago, right, in the first round, but they beat them in 4.
Let me help Jason out, though, and agree with him, okay? When you watch those Pacer games, when you watch the Cavs play, what do they struggle most with? They're not particularly athletic guarding the ball, right? They got older dudes trying to cover on the perimeter. And Kyrie, as good as he is on offense, he's equally bad on defense.
Imagine what John Wall's going to think when Darren Williams walks on the court.
Oh, my God.
Kyrie's going to even out Wall. Wall's going to get his, but so is Kyrie.
They wanted to get the second seed, so they would not have to see one of these guys early. They would not want to see Chicago, who has 2 shot makers and 2 shot creators, and Rondo's playing out of his mind right now.
And they got some vets. They got some vets.
And then they did not want to see these guys in the second round. They did not want to see Washington in the second round. You don't want to see that speed. You don't want to have to go through that kind of battle that early moving forward into the playoffs because you know you're going to be in some wars later on.
That's what Jason's saying. He's saying everybody knows this is a team bet on the
They ain't going to beat them.
Issue.
No, it is.
It's an issue. A little
pass.
To the Lakers, who just brought in one legend, Magic Johnson, to help right the ship, but reportedly won't bring in another According to the Orange County Register, Jerry West is interested in returning to the team he guided to multiple championships as an executive, but the Lakers have no plans to bring the logo back to their front office. This is where I was at when Jeannie Buss took the team from her brother. Why wouldn't you bring in Jerry West? He's done it before from the executive office. Why go for the publicity stunt and the PR move with Magic Johnson, who then brings in Rob Pelinka, an agent, not really qualified for the job, and then Magic says, oh, we want to bring Kobe in. But Jerry West, a guy who helped Golden State build that team, who closed the deal with Kevin Durant, nah, we don't need Jerry West.
He's the greatest executive in the history of the NBA. And if he says he wants to be involved, you say, just tell us how much. Here's a blank check. You're worth it. I think this shows who Magic really is. I know Magic's a genius businessman. He's got a great smile. He owns L.A. I grew up in L.A., okay? He's the greatest Laker ever. Okay, but if it's really about the Lakers and not about Magic Johnson getting credit for rebuilding the Lakers, then whatever you want to do, Jerry, you're always welcome here. Any former Laker should be welcome, especially the logo, and it has nothing to do with what you did on the floor. Remember, the Warriors wanted to trade Klay Thompson for Kevin Love, and he's
was
like,
the main reason they didn't.
Of course, because he evaluates talent, he understands the game, he's in touch with players, and he closed the deal with Kevin Durant.
He also was the first to believe in Draymond Green. He was calling Draymond Green a top 10 player in the league when everybody thought he was out of his mind.
And not only did he do it in Golden State, he also did it in Memphis as well. So
wins.
he's been doing this. He's been putting teams together, and I think it's so disrespectful to not have this guy come on, all the stuff he's done for the Lakers organization, and just to see his body of work, you have to welcome him in with open arms.
Okay,
I mean, like no doubt, give him a blank check.
It's like being a point guard, and you can have Magic on speed dial and call him whenever you want to critique your game and not doing it. I mean, Jerry, don't hire him as a GM or president, just a consultant.
Right.
That's what he is in Golden State. He would love to do it. No brainer that you bring
So hypothesize for me. Why do you think they won't do it? If it's a no-brainer for all of us.
I think you covered it already. It's just Magic wants credit. And, you know, I don't, again, Magic Johnson's my favorite athlete of all time. Love him to death. I don't see him as this business whiz that everyone else does. I see him as a supremely talented basketball player who's very charming, who, you know, has a great personality, but likes attention.
He's turned that into $500 million.
Yeah, I'm saying he's a great businessman. All his business endeavors have really worked out for him. Now, as far as his basketball endeavors, his basketball endeavors hasn't been that successful besides him playing on the court. When he tried coaching, wasn't that good. Even when he tried to do broadcasting, wasn't that good. So I don't know about his basketball endeavors off the court, but as a businessman, you can't knock that.
I'll say this, Jason, because I've talked to Jerry West about this. Before they even brought Magic in, okay, the Lakers, Jerry West was saying there's no way they'll bring him back. So this goes beyond Magic. I don't know what specifically it is, but this is beyond Magic Johnson.
Yeah, see, he told me, I thought, he led me to believe that he thought it was Phil Jackson and Phil Jackson's regime that shunned him, but Phil Jackson's regime for the most part. But Jeannie was part of it. Jeannie was part of that.
That might be it.
But look, at some point you got to let bygones be bygones and surround yourself with the smartest people possible. And you can't get anybody better than Jerry West.
If they don't get their top 3 pick, or if they don't get Lonzo Ball, it's going to be a tough road to hoe for the Lakers.
And they still need more than that. I mean, the Lakers are terrible.
Well, what do they do?
They've been terrible for years.
What do you do with D'Angelo, right? Do you move him up?
I don't think anybody wants him.
You don't let him
stop you
from taking Lonzo Ball.
You can't.
No, but this is the thing. Paul George, we know he wants to go to L.A., right?
Allegedly.
But if they don't get this draft pick, and if it's, like, let's say next season they just win a few more games, if I'm Paul George, am I going to the Lakers in the prime of my career to not make the playoffs? And probably, if you're not making the playoffs, you may not even be an all-star again in the Western Conference.
If I'm Paul George, I'm not going anywhere. $75 million worth of staying in Indianapolis. You know what I mean?
Thank you. As a Pacer fan, thank you. But I want to just say this about Jerry West. Sometimes when you are the smartest guy in the room, they don't let you in the room. All right, welcome back, Doug Gottlieb, Eric Davis, and joining us now, the founder of the Big Lead, Jason McIntyre. Let's move to college football, where it sounds like Lane Kiffin just took another shot at his old boss, Nick Saban. Kiffin is now the head coach at Florida Atlantic and was asked if he would treat his assistants the way Saban treated him. He had this to say.
Those things come up, and everybody has different ways of dealing with them. I just that's just not really how I do it. I'm not really big on humiliating the assistant coaches in front of everybody. So I just kind of, write down notes, and when we go to staff meetings, explain, what we want to get done.
Lane Kiffin just needs to stop because he's also not big on winning national championships for his assistant coaches. He's not big on keeping his job for an extended period of time. Leave Nick Saban alone, move on, avoid any disputes with Nick Saban.
I agree. I mean, look, he's not wrong. I mean, who else does what Nick Saban does to assistant
Successful
coaches?
football coaches.
Not in the public eye, not the way in which Saban does. It's a lot like working for Rick Pitino, where he makes you meet a weight, makes you meet a body fat percentage.
As a coach?
Yeah, and yes. And
I need to work there.
and he can make life miserable for you. On the other hand, because you're with Rick Pitino, he's going to pick up the phone and call and help you get another job. But as you point out, this is Lane Kiffin, right? This is the guy who, late great Al Davis, had the overhead projector going, and let me tell you why Lane Kiffin is a liar. And then we know how Tennessee and SC fired him on the tarmac after they got run out of the building at Arizona State. So we know who Lane is. We know who Saban is. I do think, Eric, it's a valid point. Like, no one does what Saban does and embarrasses coaches, and he's only telling us that, yeah, he felt it, he didn't like it, and he won't do it to others.
Exactly. Right now, he wants to get on the Iron Throne. Saban's on that Iron Throne, and he wants to get on it, and he wants to win championships, and he's saying, I've learned some things from him, but I can do certain things better than this guy. Don't like the way this was handled. He has to he's at Florida Atlantic. He's going to, whenever he can, bring up where he has been, and you bring up Alabama and Nick Saban as a part of your pedigree and say that I learned things there. He's trying to bring some light to his program. So that's what he's doing right now. And there's nothing wrong with him saying, I'm not going to just undress you in front of everyone, but that is what football coaches do.
Don't do things to get yourself
Oh, you don't
undressed.
have to, man.
You guys also forgot Brian Kelly did this at Notre Dame a lot, undressing coaches. But I want to go back to Kiffin's point. I think it's brilliant on his part.
Yes.
Okay, he's about the 6th most relevant college football program in Florida right now. Maybe 6th, maybe 5th. And he's got to keep that name in the news. He's recruiting. You got to win the blogs. You got to win the debate shows. You got to win social media. This is a big win for Lane. We're talking about Lane Kiffin in April when it's the NFL draft, NBA playoff. This is a good move by Lane Kiffin. Props for my man, Lane.
Very good point that I had not thought of.
This is the Speak For Yourself podcast featuring the best of Colin Cowherd and Jason Whitlock. I'm your embarrassed host, Jason McIntyre. If you saw the show on TV today, they called up my Instagram account, cold-blooded Chris Broussard. I see you. Revenge is a dish best served cold. I'm going to get you, Chris. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for telling all your friends to subscribe. Huge week next week. The NFL schedule comes out tonight. Then next Thursday's the NFL draft. In between, we've got the NBA playoffs. Love it all. Catch it all on this podcast. Talk to you tomorrow.